Okay, the Gambia were playing Cameroon in the first quarterfinal of this year's Africa Cup of Nations. Both goals come after half time. The first half was very, very scrappy. There was no real flow to the game. I mean, Cameroon had a lot of the ball, dominating possession, all the chances being created by Cameroon. But much like the game against the Comoros in the previous round, in the second round, had problems breaking down a well-organised defence. And that's basically what it was. It was the immovable brick versus the high energy attack. Basically, it was all attack versus all defence, and eventually, obviously, Cameroon break down that brick wall and score two very, very good goals in the second half. And the intensity level rose in the second half, but the heat, the humidity, and the pace of the second half eventually told. The superior quality, the higher quality players eventually told through with Cameroon, and Toko-Ekambi with a brace of goals. A brilliant header for the first, and a very, very well-timed and brilliant run, losing his marker, ghosting on the far post to score the second. The first goal, they had a couple of opportunities similar, crossing in from the right. That the cross could have been better, could have been worse. So they were making the opportunities. They were crossing the ball. They were getting a lot of joy down the right-hand side and down the left, down the wide channels, because it was the only way to get around a very well-organised back five at times, and a very well rigid midfield. So the only way to really get any space is to go wide. The header, he's actually heading the ball behind him. The angle of the cross, it's low, it's flat. His technique is brilliant. To use the pace of the ball rather than having to generate the power himself because of the way the ball was coming, wasn't actually the best cross. It's very low and very flat, but at pace. So he's had to basically angle his body to angle the ball in using the pace of the ball rather than generating the power. But it's a brilliant header back across the goalkeeper for the first. That was on 50 minutes. On 57 minutes, the run not being picked, losing his marker, the build-up's down the left-hand side, and he goes in on the back posts, and it's a tight angle by the time the ball actually comes to him, and it's not an easy finish. I don't know which one was the better goal, to be brutally honest, but it's a well-taken finish, and it's 2-0, and that's where the game was won. As the second half wore on, Cameroon were more set up for the counter-attack. They were more than happy to allow Gambia to have large amounts of the ball, sit back a little bit. They've got a cushion. They always look threatening going forward. The Gambia, they just ran out of steam, quite frankly. They ran out of energy. They had expended a lot of energy defensively, and this was the first game in their tournament, in their first ever tournament at the Africa Cup of Nations, where they were held goalless. So this is the first time they haven't scored. They've scored in every previous game up to this point, and that was telling as well, that the lack of creativity, the golfing class. But Cameroon did have issues, and this could be interesting for either Morocco or Egypt, whoever wins that quarter-final, that if you organise your defence, Cameroon do seem to struggle a little bit with patience. They seem to rush the play, misplaced passes. So they do cough up the ball occasionally, not as clinical as they could be. And defensively, when they did sit back a little bit, they were designed to defend very narrow, and there was space in the wide channels for Gambia to outflank and get crosses in. Admittedly, the quality wasn't there, and a better side would have created more opportunities. So defensively, they do become very, very narrow when they're sitting back and defending. And so there were little glimpses that, okay, misplaced passes, a lot of possession, not doing enough with the possession. They could have, and possibly should have been ahead by half time. They weren't. They could have kicked on and scored 3 or 4 in the second half, and they didn't. So clinically in front of goal, they weren't as clinical as they should have been, and defensively they do get very, very narrow and disorganised. However, they weren't really challenged today, although there were a few little glimpses of a few weaknesses that again was highlighted in the second round win over Comoros. Defensively, the organisation sometimes goes missing, give away silly free kicks, silly fouls in dangerous positions, which could have cost them. Okay, today the opposition wasn't very good, but if Morocco or Egypt, for example, were to be given those same opportunities, you would expect them to hit the target, challenge Anua in the goal. And he played very well in the last round. Wasn't tested today, so there's not a lot you can read into that. But in possession, sometimes wasteful, misplaced passes, rushing the play, not being patient enough when they have large amounts of the ball. That's what you can sort of take out of this game. But the finishing by Toko-Ekambi was brilliant. And 2 brilliant goals, and it's a pity he couldn't get his hat trick, but protect the lead. Obviously, there was a few players going off with a few niggly injuries. The heat's obviously had an impact, and it'll be interesting to see how the other quarterfinals play out. But thank you very much for watching. Please place your thoughts below, and I'll have some more videos for you very, very soon.